NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, F Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We are here for the Monday 6-game main slate. James, we are entering the final 2 weeks of the NBA regular season here. We have just 2 Monday shows left to go with our live stream pre-show season. So we appreciate you all that continue to tune in here for the NBA DFS content. I know MLB has kicked off and a lot of attention has gone its way to the MLB, but we're happy to have you all still with us here for the NBA show. The Prince is in chat already, back in the States. Donnie Boone and Charlie popping in for us here as well. If you guys want to get involved in today's show, just type in a question into chat. Grande and I are here to help y'all out for this 6-game main slate. Big news of the day. We talked about it on the pre-show. We weren't sure of the status of the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown ends up being ruled out. Kristaps Porzingis ruled in. So we have a Jason Tatum day in Charlotte on a Monday without Jaylen Brown. We all know what could be when it comes to that type of performance. Sir Grande, my friend, how you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, hasn't necessarily been like the biggest news cycle. Jalen Johnson's going to play. Jaylen Brown is not going to play. Porzingis is going to play. We don't know the status of Cade Cunningham just yet. That's probably the biggest thing we're still waiting on. We got some downgrades in Charlotte as well, so a short rotation could be even shorter. I was surprised after Charlotte news came out earlier today that Porzingis is even playing, but alas, elite spot for Porzingis. We need Cade, and that's pretty much it, and should be a fun 6-game slate.
Yeah, I agree with you there 100%. Getting into some of the matchups here on this slate and comes to spreads and totals here. Charlotte, Boston 17.5 point road favorites on this slate. Memphis, Detroit giving 216 total. Brooklyn, Indiana giving 12.5, 227. Portland, Orlando giving 16.5 with a 210. Atlanta, Chicago, Bulls giving 221.5 total. Phoenix, New Orleans, Pelicans giving 1.5, 222.5 in that one.
Let's get into it.
Alrighty, let's jump into this main slate here. Starting off here at the point guard position, DeJounte Murray, $9,800. Halliburton, $91. Booker, $9K. Cade Cunningham at $8,300, rounding out the top 5 guards here. We talked to DeJounte at the top of the show yesterday. Man's taking all those shots, playing all those minutes. It is a big pace down spot for Atlanta, but do we think we're going there anyways?
I mean, I definitely don't think we see 44 shots with Jalen Johnson in the lineup. So, I mean, you can definitely get there. He's a good fantasy producer, but I'm not like as optimistic as I was with Johnson back. So, I think it's fine. Definitely, if you end up on DeJounte Murray, it's one of the closer spreads of the day between two teams jockeying for playoff positioning in the play-in tournament. So if you end up on Murray, by all means do so. But I think someone like Halliburton is, $700 cheaper, might be a little better of a play. If Cade plays, I think he's, if we're getting a competitive game, we saw that he has a ceiling in terms of minutes. McCollum has a ceiling anytime Brandon Ingram's out of the lineup. And we say it all the time. Hey, guess what? Boston down somebody, Derek White season. So I think there's a lot of other options other than just the same old, plug DeJounte because Trey's out. Well, now Jalen Johnson's back, and DeJounte hasn't been as ceiling efficient with Jalen Johnson in the lineup. So I'm okay with Murray. I just like the guys below better.
Sure. Where are you going then when it comes to targeting the point guard position for you today?
I mean, after all those names above 7K, I do think as bad as spot as it is, if Scoot Henderson's going to get anywhere close to 40 minutes, then I think it has to be a consideration. The foul trouble has been running rampant on Scoot, but was able to stay out of foul trouble 41 minutes. He was a minus 57 in the plus minus. It's the second time this year that he's been minus 57 in a game, which
Not good.
Is quite. I mean, obviously, it's not his.
Was it their other
fault,
50-point loss?
It was. It's definitely not just his fault, but like I guess that's what happens when you're on the floor for 40 minutes in a 60-point loss.
Right.
If that's going to happen again, which it very well could happen again, as long as he stays out of foul trouble, he's a really good fantasy point per minute guy.
Yeah.
Same thing can be said for Delano Bet, and I do kind of like Drew Holiday with no Jaylen Brown. I kind of like Drew Holiday to begin with. 39.
No Celtics getting much ownership here today, so
I don't think it's updated yet because the last update I saw still had Jaylen Brown listed. So we'll see what the is after Jaylen Brown. I'm good getting to Holiday. Not that Drew gets ownership anyway. No one plays Drew Holiday of anyone Boston related. Sugar has a slightly better spot. No Cam Johnson today. No Dennis Smith Jr. So the minute ceiling should be pretty high if it's competitive. So those are some names. And obviously Vasilija Micic news is big because if he doesn't play, I mean, there's just no other option than to play Trey Mann like for 40 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Casey's saying you need JT to be under 20%. I mean, I guess when we get this updated news, we'll see. But he was under 10% before the Jaylen Brown news came through. Then our guy, Coach Chris, looking for that 100K tonight. Yeah, we're all looking for the 100K tonight. That is for sure here. Value point guards, anybody of note that you're looking to just kind of lock in? Or did you think value is better at other positions tonight?
I mean, Memphis is interesting. I expect Scottie Pippen to start at point guard. He was in a lot of foul trouble last game, only played 21 minutes, but again, pretty much a fantasy point per minute. That's kind of what he's done this year. Jordan Goodwin had the big ceiling game last time out, was obviously a beneficiary of the foul trouble. I'm not even sure what Goodwin's role is going to be if Scottie Pippen stays out of foul trouble because he's been I mean, he went 8 days in between playing and then before that 9 days. So like, we don't even know if Goodwin plays in this spot. If Pippen starts, I'd be okay getting to Scottie Pippen. I don't think we need to like really test anything else. Like you can always play TJ McConnell. Truthfully, he's been super, super good lately, and especially scoring the basketball. I mean, this is a different. I mean, just give the guy increased run.
Scoring in like 10 straight games. So.
Yeah, just give him the run, and you can see what happens. Now he's 4,800. He's gonna unlikely play 20 minutes. Maybe you get the 24 minutes like he did against the Clippers, but it's probably high teens. So if he can get you 30 fantasy points in that, like he can. Yeah. But you obviously need the ceiling McConnell game. So that would pretty much be it in the value tier.
Sure. Shooting guard position, Devin Booker mentioned a top 9K. A lot of guys with dual positional eligibility. We're always in on Derek White, but Cam Thomas is among the highest rostered players on the day. Back to back, but good pace up spot here against the Pacers tonight. We know he's a flamethrower. Nick Richards ruled out tonight for the Charlotte Hornets. So there's a little.
Yeah, he was on the. He got downgraded earlier today.
Yeah.
Wow, Pokusevski was doubtful and now is available. That's hilarious.
Does Poku start at the 5 tonight?
I'd assume Grant. The revenge narrative. Grant Williams.
Good luck to him, sir.
Good luck to him for sure. And then we'll see if Micic news comes with it too, because he's obviously he was the third member of the Hornets. But I mean, Poku, we'll talk front court. He'll be in he'll
have to be, right? They have no ties outside of him at this point. So
that's interesting. He was listed originally as doubtful. It's an illness. Little sketch.
You think they just go double smalls with like Miles Bridges and Grant Williams at the 5 tonight?
It's gonna be funny when Boston goes double big because no Brown. Like anytime anyone's been out, right? They'll just plug Horford. And then it's Horford Porzingis versus Bridges Grant Williams. Is that your starting?
Grant Williams at the 5 could force them to start Hauser. We'll see.
Hauser, yeah. I feel like Mazzulla will beats to his own drum. He doesn't. I don't think he cares.
Back to Cam Thomas. Obviously, the only thing we
Yes.
ever really worry about for these guys is just sort of back-to-backs for jump shooters. Now, he's going to take 20 plus shots. We assume he's going to be playing a whole lot of minutes. He's been playing a lot of minutes lately. But for the most part, Thomas is pretty locked in right now.
Yeah, he's very popular, really good spot. No complaints getting to him. Honestly, I would consider, just as a pivot, I would consider Derek White as a pivot.
Yeah.
I just don't think people are going to get to like we saw it when Tatum sat. We saw it when Brown and Porzingis sat. Like, still in people's minds, they're like, "Oh, Derek White's still the third option here."
Yeah.
But like on a night, so is Jaylen Brown, or on a night, so is Porzingis, or even Tatum in some cases.
Some days, yeah. And White did not play in that first Charlotte game. Both Brown and White were out of that game, so there's the possibility for White to have himself a pretty big night here. Again, they're 17.5-point favorites with Jaylen Brown out. So like there's just it didn't matter that they were that he got ruled out there. Bogdan, Miller, two guys down here in the mid 6Ks. Banton, Murphy also in that range. I know we're comfortable playing all of them. So
comfortable, yes. I'm definitely not as bullish on Bogdan with Jalen Johnson being back, but he should still play plenty of minutes. I'd assume. I mean, the biggest loser here is Vit Krejci. Like that's your. I assume Krejci goes back to the bench. Sure. Maybe they prefer Bogdan off the bench, but either way, Jalen Johnson's definitely like going to impact, I would say, most players on Atlanta. Good eligibility for Bogdan. I'd probably rather play Miller, especially with Richards being out again, like just another rotational piece just gone and depleted from Charlotte. So Miller, 6+ rebounds in 3 of the last 4. Probably need him to be that guy again with no Nick Richards. So yeah, I actually prefer Miller to Bogdanovich. I know the spot is harder for Miller, but I feel like there's more opportunity for Miller here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Under 6K, anybody for you sticking out? We talked Memphis, Luke Kennard, a little revenge game for him at 5,100.
Yeah, I like the minutes. I mean, he was out for a personal reason and then came back and played 30 minutes. Was just missed shots. I mean, he's a 45% 3-point shooter this year. That shot 2 of 7 from 3. I mean, he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Peripherally, he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
He makes 1 or 2 more threes. We're looking at nearly 30 fantasy points. So,
right.
I think Luke Kennard is perfectly fine. Obviously, if Hauser started, it's something to consider. You probably still consider it. Him and Peyton Pritchard both, if you're thinking blowout, are it's not as cheap as it was when like you could play Pritchard 42, Hauser 43 in blowouts, and you're like, oh well, that doesn't take a lot to get there.
Yeah.
But you could probably make a case for both those guys to make your lineups.
Sure. Again, we talked about some of this value. You'll see when lineups come out if anything changes there as we get closer to roster lock. 7 o'clock tonight. Ready to go to small forward?
Yep.
At small forward, again, Jason Tatum is here, 10K. We'll see when the updates come through. If there's a large jump in ownership. Before the Jaylen Brown news came out, he was under 10%. This is a guy that in this last matchup against Charlotte went for 78 fantasy points. We've talked a little extensively here on the Monday in Charlotte quote that he gave prior to that game in Charlotte, and he went off. Is he going to be able to go and do 45 and 13 again? I mean, maybe. Maybe they didn't have Derek White in that game, but they did have Chris Porzingis, and he went off. So him, DeRozan, Siakam, all up there in the top 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tatum's as elite as it gets. Can do it in 3 quarters. Would obviously prefer if he did it in 4 quarters, but definitely can get to Tatum at 10K with no Jalen. DeRozan is good, solid. Another 44 fantasy points the other day. He's going to play max minutes. I mean, yesterday he's going to play max minutes. Siakam is not going to play max minutes, but he's still getting it done in around 31 to 33. So I'm good getting to all of them. I'd probably rank them in the order that they're priced. I think there's a case you could put Siakam second in that.
Sure. Other guys down in the value tier, some of these guys we've talked about Is there a like core value small for you? I mean, we're still obviously working our way through some of the value news, some of the injuries. Memphis guys are down here, Portland guys are down here. Spending up makes a lot of sense at this position, but is there a clear value play for you?
No. I guess Bertans would probably be like the one value that I would like really hone in on. I mean, he's been good. We've seen like he can score the basketball, right? Like I won't even say score. He is a flamethrower, not just because he has red hair, but because he can shoot really well from three. I mean, 9 made threes in 2 games, and hasn't topped more than 25 minutes.
Right.
What is he? If Poku is at all limited because he was doubtful, right? If that illness gets in his way, they don't want to extend JT Thor even when they're shorthanded. He played 6 minutes last game, and now no Grant Williams or no Nick Richards. Like Bertans is just going to play. So I think $3,400 for Davis Bertans is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Other than that, like in between, basically the guys we've talked about. I mean, you mentioned Trey Murphy. We didn't really dive into him, but he's getting a lot of ownership tonight.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with. I mean, there's a lot of factors. 39 minutes in 3 straight games is one of them. His ability to space the floor and be elite at times is another. And that this is just simply the best game on the board, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's no doubt best game on the board, most meaningful game on the board. I mean, some would say Chicago, Atlanta, but, I digress. But
Grant Williams officially starting for the
yeah, makes sense. So we're going to have Poku Bertans as your first 2 off the bench, and then depending on the Micic news, like if Micic is out, then it's Bertans probably start. They might start Bertans. They might start Nick Smith. I mean, they might start McGowan's. Like, who knows what they'll do, but I think any situation you talk about, 3,400 for Bertans is excellent value.
Depends on FanDuel. I kind of consider value plays to be like 55 and under. I think is probably a good range for value plays. Maybe 4,900 and under, you get a little dicey. But on FanDuel, the way guys are priced, if I can get them in the low 5Ks and below, I think that I kind of consider that to be a value range. Kind of holds true on both sites, truthfully. Power forward. Again, a lot of guys we've talked about. Zion at 87 is getting a lot of ownership love before the Brown news. We'll see if any of that shifts to Tatum, but at least for now, we were high on him going into today. Nothing's really changed on that front.
Nope, not at all. I think if you're going to get a Zion that can play 40 minutes, all systems go on that front.
Yep, I'm on a full agreement with you. Anybody else for a spend up? Like, does Porzingis interest you at 78, knowing that there's no injury report on him right now?
Caleb Houston ruled out. Not that matters. I didn't realize that. Yes, only because we've seen kind of Porzingis getting into the 30s, and anytime he's really, other than that first Atlanta game, gotten into 30s, he's crazy effective. So I mean, if you're gonna get, it doesn't get better than Charlotte, right? Ivica Zubac was in every winning lineup yesterday. If you played 2% of Ivica Zubac, you played Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, this isn't Nick Richards, but like when Chris Kristaps catches in the post against Grant Williams, what is Grant Williams going to do?
Right.
Grant Williams is he's 6'5" playing center. Like, he just has no chance. He has no chance. So yes, if short, how would you rank Celtics?
Tatum, White, Porzingis, probably.
I would probably rank them. I'd probably rank them. White and Porzingis are so close for me.
I think there's a higher minutes floor
for Derek White.
For White.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. If this game goes out 30, there ain't no way Porzingis is playing more than 25.
No.
So
25 might be pushing it in that.
Yeah, it honestly could be. Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of where I'm like feeling that, but yeah. I would agree with you. It's very close for Porzingis and White. We say this all the time about Boston. They've been huge favorites all season long, and there are games where they just like don't show up or they
on the road.
On the road. And it's not that they don't show up; they just lose. But I mean, they lost those games in Atlanta, and they scored like 130 points.
I know.
So like,
right.
They can break slates if you get it right. I just don't know. I don't know how Charlotte hangs here. On the flip side of that, Bridges is going to play 40 minutes, really, no matter what. So.
Yep.
7,600 is good. Jalen Johnson, I know you've been a fan of, 7,200. Gigi's here, 61. We don't know the Aldama status. Highest rostered player on the slate tonight is Trendon Watford. You talked about him a lot.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised.
3,600. We put him in our pre-build lineup this morning. 24 and 29 minutes on the last couple of games. Been really good for 4 straight. We're gonna. Are they secure? I don't know anymore. It's the final 2 weeks of the NBA season. It seems like he's locked in for at least 20, and he got 29 last game. And they just ruled out guys today. Cam Johnson. So, yeah, I think they're secure. He's going to be in the lineup we built 100%. He's going to find his way into the lineup we built tonight.
That's going to be low. I think that ownership number is low on Trent Watford, truthfully. What we have.
You think he's going to be like 70%?
Yeah, I think he's going to be probably the most popular value play.
Especially once everybody plays Tatum now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, a lot of ownership was on Zion, right? Now people can just be like, I actually just want to play Tatum and Zion, right? And now it's like, well, now I'm playing 3,600 Trent Watford because he's been 1.5 fantasy points per minute over the last 4 games. Like, why would I not? Dude, he played 16 straight second half minutes yesterday. And I said he was the first sub off their bench at the 8-minute mark of the first quarter with no foul trouble yesterday. Like there was not, they just put him in the game because it's like, well, he's making threes, he's rebounding, he's scoring. Maybe we got something here, right? But he's kind of been that way the whole season. When he's gotten time, it's just about getting time. I think Trendon Watford, you can differentiate in plenty of places, especially if the Boston ownership doesn't move. If it does kind of subside and stays where it is and Charlotte somehow stays close, you can differentiate elsewhere. Just play Watford, the value, especially once Cam Johnson was ruled out. And I said that to you on the show. Cam Johnson gets hurt every back-to-back. There was almost no chance he's playing a back-to-back at this point in the season.
Yeah.
And Dorian Finney-Smith played 25 minutes yesterday. What do we need to see from Dorian Finney-Smith from this point forward? Is Dorian Finney-Smith working on his dribble package in the middle on April 1st? No. So pretty soon we're going to see Trendon Watford in the starting lineup. So just hop aboard the chalk ride and move on from there.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there as well for sure. Any other power forwards then? I mean, we're in on Watford, obviously. We like spending up. Does Grant Williams interest you? John Isaac at 42. Metu 45. Any of these guys, Herb Jones we've discussed. Any love for them?
I just want to comment on Chris's comment. Absolutely not. I don't love the matchup. That is Jalen Suggs, and Jalen Suggs might be first team all defense this year. Yeah. If he's not, he's second team all defense. Terrible spot. Awful spot. One of the worst spots, actually. Not many worse spots. Orlando.
Plays slow. Defense as a team is really good. Defense as a guard is really good.
It's just not fun. But what do we say?
A lot.
If he plays 40 minutes, then there's just an opportunity, right? Just because he might not play against Jalen Suggs for an entire half of the game.
Does Portland score 100 points tonight?
Dude, they scored 86 points and lost by 60, and it doesn't. So Orlando's the number 1 rated team since the All-Star break in defense. Number 1. They're also 30th in offense. So
they play very slow in pace.
No, the answer is absolutely not. I don't. But I do like the chance that he could possibly play 40 minutes, right? And there's obviously you look at other players in this. You don't know who's playing with some of these teams,
right?
Because it's late season NBA. It's April officially, and you'd know at least if Scoot foul trouble, he's going to play a lot of minutes. So I do like that. But to your forward question, Jalen Johnson is interesting. I looked it up today. He missed a month earlier in the year, returned, played 29 minutes, missed 2 weeks or 9 days, his last ankle sprain, and played 35 minutes. So there's no limit. I'd be hard pressed to think Jalen Johnson plays anything less than like 32 minutes would probably be like the floor for Jalen Johnson. So I'm okay getting to him. He is really good. 7,200 is too cheap for Jalen Johnson, by the way. If he's going to be like anywhere full capacity, we were paying $8K for him, like with Trae Young. So, 72 for Jalen's a good price. If Aldama sits, there's definite interest in Memphis in general. Herb Jones, great. If Horford starts, I think that's pretty smash spot. We'll know Horford might be the guy sitting a lot near the basket. I mean, guarding who's guarding Horford if he starts? Like that just mismatches everywhere, dude. Yeah. Tatum at the 3. What is this? Charlotte has no chances. They have no chance of this game. Laravia is also
Wiseman sneaky, and then Coach Chris says he likes Duren. So we're talking some Pistons centers here.
Where's the Spider-Man? I mean,
we can just move to center.
Well, Jabari Walker, power forward, getting a lot of ownership. Just going to throw that out there. He was awful the other night, but he played 34 minutes. Everyone on Portland was awful except Scoot. The 34 minutes in the start was, I think, the most.
Scoot was actually very bad. He was negative
fantasy,
56.
From a fantasy perspective, he got 40 fantasy points. So
from an NBA level, Scoot was actually the worst player on the floor in that game.
For the second time this year.
OS does bring up the Poku thing because we kind of like mentioned him and then forgot about him. How dare we? 4K. Dude, he was playing minutes, right? He was getting the minutes.
It's sketchy. Only reason it's sketchy is because he was literally listed doubtful with an illness this morning, right? That injury report came out like not too long ago. So from going to doubtful, did he have diarrhea?
Could have.
And it just stopped. And
the norovirus is going around,
what? So it happened after the Embiid news at some point. So at 4 hours ago, at 1:00 p.m., he was doubtful. He's just better 4 hours later.
Yeah, took some Pepto and he's like ready to rock,
Dude. 4 hours?
I'm just saying it's possible.
If you had nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea, dun, dun, dun. That's the. I mean, like, I understand. Nobody in the world. We didn't get paid
for that ad, by the way. We should have.
We didn't. We did not get paid for that.
No paid ads here. So.
No, nobody is bigger Pokashevsky fans than us. I have a card.
Donnie gets it. The pink bottle works wonders, dude.
Listen, I'm sure
not false advertising on that label. It is not.
I'm sure, right? Like, there's a chance Pokashevsky, like, went through some shit, and literally and figuratively this morning, right? And now we're good. But, like, there's also the case he's going to eat in between that. What if another little stomach grumble comes right before lock?
Never know.
I'm just saying, I'm not playing Pokashevsky in a single entry, but I would consider him in, like, if I'm max entering. If I have 20 lineups, if I have 150 lineups, I'd probably have like 10% Pokashevsky tonight.
Yeah, do one of 20 probably for me. Because like we don't know, right? Like if he's in, then Davis probably gets knocked down, right? So like there's a ripple.
I don't think so. Is it because there's no Nick Richards either way, right? They don't play like they don't
play JT Thor.
No, they won't. They won't play JT Thor. They were down yesterday and they played JT Thor 6 minutes. Like there was no Pokashevsky yesterday. They looked down the bench. Clifford was like, how much JT, you got me 6 minutes tonight? He's like, yes, sir. Like, all right, that's all you got tonight. Go out there.
So. Here we go. Center spot. Going back to the Detroit thing here. Duren $7,200. Again, I like Jalen Duren almost every slate. We talk about him all the time. In the competitive game-ish, we finally got. He played 35 minutes and he broke the slate. It's the same situation for him and Cade. If you think Memphis and Detroit can go play a game where it's a 3-point spread tonight, and I think there's a minutes ceiling for both of those players, and there's a chance for them both to go for 50-plus fantasy points. So I am happily going to either. My problem with Wiseman is that he is not 4K anymore. He's over,
no, he is not. He is not.
And the price is obviously coming down on him. But if he was in this range, I'd be more apt to play and risk 20 minutes. He played 13 minutes in that game. I granted he had 4 fouls, but I don't know. He played 23 in this game against Minnesota. Like, what is his minutes if Durant's playing all of them? What's his minutes, right? So it's tough for me to spend 5,300 on that guy, knowing what his floor could be.
Agreed. I mean, in a competitive game, apparently Monty Williams is still playing them, right? We saw it last game. So and there's a 48-minute split. There's no one else playing center minutes. It's Jalen Duren and it's James Wiseman. And if Duren's playing 35, John, well, we could do the math there on Wiseman minutes.
Our guy Sean's talking about Joe Val. We went over this on the morning show. I am in agreement with you. I think he's got to play against the Suns if Nurkic is playing.
But that's kind of the kicker, though, right? Like, we've even seen at times both these teams are two teams that have the ability to go small with Durant and Zion at the 5, right? We saw in the infamous Suns comeback against the Kings. That's what they did, right? And they took Sabonis off the floor in that game because they were like, we can't. What is Sabonis going to do? Cover Durant on the perimeter and like this up. So I don't disagree where like maybe you get, instead of 17 minutes from Valanciunas, you get 20 minutes out of Valanciunas. I still don't know if I'm like necessarily comfortable getting 20 minutes of Valanciunas. I'm not saying he's a good fantasy point per minute guy. I'm also I would rather spend up or just utilize my funds elsewhere or play. I mean, for $800, I can play Brandon Clark, who's playing 20 minutes for $800 cheaper. For $600 cheaper, John Isaac for 20 minutes. Pokashevsky might play I could play Trendon Watford at center, who we just saw essentially 30-minute ceiling yesterday. So I don't know. It's, in theory, you would think that they would need Valanciunas to play, but I'm not convinced Phoenix needs Nurkic to play. Like they could also go small. I guess it all just depends on what both teams decide to do.
Agreed. All right, let's build a lineup. We're starting Watford here as we kind of alluded to. Let's see. Watford.
We have no ownership update.
Nothing update yet, but we're still going to plug Tatum because we were kind of in that anyways here. Rupert's starting tonight, by the way. Does that interest you at all?
Yeah, they run in the same starting lineup from the other day.
Yep.
He was just in so much foul trouble the other day.
I know it's not a good matchup, just as much as we hate this for all Orlando guys, but
he closed in a 60-point loss. So, like, if that's a final piece that's a final
under 4K starter. So
I think I would rather Bertans with no Nick Richards at small forward, but
Oh, Gabriel, why are you putting those words out there, man? It's probably true though.
Well, listen, like, you can play Brooklyn. Like, Brooklyn's, we didn't talk about Claxton. They're short-handed-ish.
Well, I just plug Schroeder and Thomas in here, so.
I mean, it's a very good spot.
I always want to know Booker or Zion tonight.
I prefer Zion. I feel like there's more. The range of outcomes for Book is so high, just given, and also Trey Murphy. I like the defensive matchup much better for Zion than I do for. Davis for sure. I know. I agree, Chris. The DFS talk, not what we're doing. but Dorian Finney-Smith, go stand in the corner for 3, is just not as good from a fantasy point of minute.
It's not.
Even if he comes out, he scored like, I think it was the Toronto game. He scored like the first 7 points of the game. Overall, it was like 7-0 Dorian Finney-Smith, and he finished with 11. So, I mean, yeah.
Let's see, where are we going next here?
Do you want to go? I was gonna say up to like McCollum from Sugar, but we don't have to.
Yeah, I'm fine going there. 59.
We're up to Derek White. I mean, either way, it does not matter.
I like the competitiveness of that game. Go three in that game.
Grant Williams, 4,400. No.
Her works. 61 util. I guess we don't know what's going to happen with Memphis, right? So it's kind of a little different.
Yeah, Aldama upgraded to questionable is like obviously a good sign for him to play, but we don't know. But we'll know. It's a 7 p.m. game.
Maybe 74 for util.
Jalen
Duran, yeah. All right, example lineup for everybody here. McCollum, Thomas, Tatum, Bertans, Watford, Murphy, Grant Williams, Jalen Duran. If you guys have any questions, obviously find us in the Discord. James and I are available. You can also follow us over on Twitter if you haven't done so there as well. At JamPema777, at _real_grande. If you're not already a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, we got a limited time offer going on right now. You've seen the scroll all show, but now you can scan the QR code there as well. FantasyAlarm.com/win. You'll save 20% off your first month of your All-Pro subscription. That gets you access to all premium content we have on site, not just the NBA DFS content, but MLB DFS, NHL DFS, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, you name it. We cover it. If it's behind the paywall, you get access to it here, including our projections, our draft percentage forecaster, our lineup generator, and our premium Discord there. 20% off the first month with promo code Let's Win. Go to fantasy.com/win or scan the QR code there on the screen. Grande and I will be back tomorrow. Look out for the pre-show in the morning. We'll be back here 5 p.m. Eastern time like we are every single day here to break you down the latest news around the NBA. Till then, everybody, we'll catch you later.